And then
Mm-hmm.
the week before, because I was in my 36th week, I was admitted to the hospital for a night just because her heart rate,
Right.
was decreasing, or it wasn't very
So,
strong.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had to stay overnight so that they could monitor her, monitor me. Got out of that, came back home, and then that I think it was midnight Friday night, my water broke.
Welcome to the Lupus and Community Podcast. Real stories, honest conversations, practical support, and lupus broken down in clear, simple language. Whether you're living with it, loving someone who is, or just trying to understand, this is your place. Seen, supported, stronger.
Welcome to the Lupus Together podcast. I'm your host, Fatima. You're in the right place. If you're living with lupus, a caregiver, or love a lupus warrior. In this podcast, in this case, we share real stories of survival, resilience, and hope. Today, we will be talking about lupus, pregnancy, and family. With me today, I have Lakesha Moore, and without much further ado, could you please introduce yourself, Lakesha, beyond lupus?
Yeah. So my name is Lakesha Moore-Calvin. I live with lupus. I've been living with lupus since May of 2022. And it was a few-year journey, but finally in that semester is when I was officially diagnosed in May of 2022.
And so,
Um,
sorry, I cut you off, but could you walk us through the first time you felt something was off with your health?
So the first time I felt something was off was back in 2017 in the fall, October of that fall. I caught a virus, and I didn't really feel the effects of the virus until December of that year when I just felt a heaviness in my heart, and I couldn't move very far without heavy breathing. And turns out on December 25th, I went to the emergency room. I was able to see a cardiologist because someone canceled that day, and I was diagnosed with pericarditis. And fast forward, that was the first sign of maybe something starting to go awry with my health. And that was back in 2017. So then fast forward, a few things happened here and there, but nothing, too crazy. I noticed some bald spots, bald patches in my hair. I had locks at the time. And it wasn't until the fall of 2021 when I noticed severe hair loss. And then I became very tired. I just finished a renovation project with my husband. And well, no, we weren't married yet, but my fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And we, and I just noticed the changes in my skin, in my hands. The skin began to deteriorate pretty quickly, and I lost pigmentation, and then I became very tired, and it just got dramatically worse through the semester. So finally, then going to the ER and figuring that out. I was diagnosed with lupus SLE
In 2022.
in 2022.
2022. So
Yeah.
it was when it became very serious was when you decided to maybe see a specialist. What kind of specialist did you see?
So I was seeing a nurse practitioner, but I was afraid to go to the emergency room. I trusted her. She was doing a lot of research along the way.
Mm-hmm.
She had decided, or was through her research, that my iron was low. My iron was low. I've always been borderline anemic,
Right.
and it had dropped very low. And so, and I had X-rays and I forgot to mention this too. I was
Yeah.
experiencing some abdominal pain, and that would happen usually when I would eat. And so I had a couple of X-rays, but it didn't show anything that was going on in my body. And so I kept kind of putting it off, going to the ER. And then finally she said, no, you have to go. You can't continue to live like this. Because I was just pushing through, just barely getting from here and there, but I was still working. I was still going to work every day, just kind of pushing through. And also going back to my skin, my hands actually was wearing bandages on my hands for a period of maybe 2 to 3 weeks because it had gotten so severe, the deterioration on my skin. It was just affecting
Right,
everything. And
right,
so,
right.
and
So,
even the butterfly rash and
so
also
you had,
affected.
yeah, you had the butterfly rash and cuts on your hands, because that's what I had too when I had a severe flare. And
Mhm.
for our audience, I want to define lupus. Lupus is an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
It attacks the body when your immune system, instead of protecting itself or instead of protecting you, attacks organs in your body. We don't know the cause yet, although recent studies from Stanford University shows that Epstein-Barr virus is the culprit. I don't know if you heard about that, Lakeisha, but
I haven't.
that's what you haven't
Yeah.
heard about that. Yeah, so that's the recent study about lupus at the moment. And what Lakeisha, what you're describing is a flare. A flare is when lupus symptoms become enhanced and so severe that it takes you to ER, or in some cases you become hospitalized too. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, at what point uh, how did you receive your diagnosis? How did you, there were tests, of course, and what kind of tests were done, if you remember?
So I believe I know I had a CT scan because I was in the hospital for that weekend. They admitted me. It was Mother's Day weekend, and I had a series of tests that were run. My blood work was done, and the thing that they came up with, based on all the results, was lupus SLE. And I was stunned. I knew something was wrong, so it was good to have a name,
Yeah,
but I was pretty shocked
yeah.
about that.
So,
And then knowing it was a lot more serious than I had taken it for. Well, I mean, granted, I guess I knew it was serious, but to know that the effects, could it could be it could last, for the rest of my life, basically, right?
yeah,
So that was a big deal for me, just kind of thinking about that. Because I know I'm already a sensitive person, and then to know that your body is now attacking, for that. So it's
yourself,
a kind of an interesting, dilemma that you're kind of sitting in, you
right.
know.
So did you know what lupus was, or did the doctor go through the meaning and what that means?
So I was familiar with it, and granted, maybe I want to say maybe it was in 2017 when I was getting my hair relocked. My hairdresser, actually, who was very attuned with
Wow.
the body and with health, she noticed I had a spot, and she recommended I, get maybe, or I could try steroid shots if I saw a dermatologist, right?
Hmm.
However, she asked me if I had lupus, and
Wow.
that question didn't really stay with me. Nothing, and no, I think that was 2018 actually. Yeah, because I had the pericarditis in 2017, and
Yeah,
2018
yeah,
is when she asked that question. So I was a bit shocked. I was like, no, I don't think so. This is nothing that I thought of. So I was familiar because, and then I started looking into it, but not much. I kind of
right,
stopped.
right.
Yeah.
And just continued with your regular follow-up visits
Mhm.
and checks. Great, great.
Yeah.
So I was wondering also how all that affected your daily life, school,
Mhm.
work, your family
Yeah.
and friends, your relationship.
Yeah, so as I said, it was tough because I couldn't do a whole lot on my own at times because I was just so tired. So my fiance was there through all of this, just kind of
Hmm.
helping me with even getting up and down the stairs, at
Yes,
times was
yes,
hard.
yes, yes.
And of course, food intake, because we were trying different things. What can you eat? What can you not eat that didn't make the flares or the pain so severe? Because at times I would eat something, I would feel fine, but then maybe 2 hours later, middle of the night, I wake up in extreme pain, and I
Hmm.
could hardly breathe. So it was a kind of an up and down battle. I lost a lot of weight, so that
Hmm.
was hard for him to see. It was hard for my family to see me losing the weight. The skin changes for me were the worst, the skin
Yep,
and hair changes
yeah.
because I was, and I tell, I told my husband recently, I said, I felt like a monster, just because it was, it was just so different,
Yeah.
experiencing all those changes and having to try to cover up. And, thankfully we were, no, yeah, we were wearing masks,
Yes,
too,
yes.
on time.
Yeah,
That
2020.
helped.
Yes.
Yeah, that because I was at least able to kind of cover up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, so it was just different. I definitely kept a little bit more to myself. I would share what was going on with a few friends, but it was tough, trying to describe it.
Yeah.
And trying to deny what
Yeah.
was going on, but then knowing something was happening. But
Right.
I was afraid of what I would find out. I was also afraid of the care that I could or could not receive, so it was just a lot of things that were kind of challenging me, to get well and to find the resources that I needed to get well,
Right.
right? So,
Right. Yeah, everything coming all at once is overwhelming. Now, what about work? Were you working then? I know you
but
mentioned
I was,
COVID. Yeah.
yeah, and it was funny because I just left my one university job where I was teaching all the time.
Yeah.
I think I was teaching five courses,
Well,
and thankfully at this time I wasn't having to teach, so I didn't have to speak on a daily. It was more of I was doing admin work, but I was also working with different artists that would come in. I work at Fisk University in the gallery at the time, and so it was tough, because I was maybe 50% um energy wise, trying
yeah.
to entertain the artists, help them through um show them around campus and whatnot. So I mean, yes, I was working, doing the best I could, and I would ask my students for extra help, when I couldn't
Yeah.
do certain things,
Awesome.
or to show guests and a tourist around. So
Yes. Awesome. You did
yeah,
well, it sounded
very
like.
thankful for them. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. I don't, you mentioned about not having to speak a lot. For me, I found it hard. I talk slowly, right? My
mhm,
my style of speaking is very low tone and I talk slowly,
mhm.
but with a flair, I talk like this, like really slowly. So I wonder if you
Mhm.
had that effect too. I just didn't have the energy to talk loud and be heard.
Mhm. Yeah, so I had the same, because breath was hard to come by, and
Yeah,
so I had to go slow, and there were times when I couldn't get much out. So I was so thankful for our students because they could give tours for me,
yes,
on my
yes.
behalf. But yeah, yeah,
Awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So, at
yeah,
what point did you and your partner decide you need to plan for pregnancy, or did
yeah.
you plan it all?
So I was starting to feel really good in the summertime. And I was on the medication, and we were married October 2022. I felt well enough, I had a fresh haircut, so I was like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And we
Hmm.
planned for October. So we did that. I was still taking medication faithfully. I think I was trying to get back into exercising. It was a little bit slow because here I am. I'm a former athlete. I used to run cross country and
Wow.
track.
Yes.
I coached it um, for a few years, and so I
Hmm.
I, I missed that, being active, and I was active up until I caught that initial virus back in 2017. I was
17.
very active, running a lot, training, and so here I am, not able to do those things. So that was tough, but it was good to have a rheumatologist, just to kind of talk through, some of the issues. The
Yeah.
one thing I kept wanting to address with him was food, and that's something
Hmm.
that
They don't
wasn't
know
necessarily.
about.
I was
Right.
I was trying to, because I was looking at all these things and
Hmm.
listening, to videos here, reading that, and those things, but that wasn't discussed. However, it was discussed, the possibility of pregnancy, and then I knew that one of the medications I was on, Cellcept, the common name for it is I had to be off of that for about 6 months before I
Yeah.
was see, because there's no, like, I guess, in-depth study on how that would affect pregnancy, but it could cause birth defects, right?
Right.
So I kind of had decided in my mind, in February of 2023, I took myself off the medication. I didn't go back to the rheumatologist. I felt really good. I
Okay.
was really good. I was progressing. My hair was growing back. Skin was getting better. Not where I wanted it, but it was getting better.
Right.
And then I conceived July of that year, 2023.
So
And
I'm sorry to cut you, but mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So how long between you stopping the medication and conceiving? How long was
Yeah,
it?
so in February, so it was no, I take that back. It was 6 weeks. It had to be off 6 weeks at least
6
out of your
weeks. Okay.
stop taking. So from February, it was about what 4 good months, July. Yeah, about 4 months, I think.
4 months.
But
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, so it's about 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were really excited, but also pretty nervous because I wasn't quite sure, about my state, but we were it was a big faith decision. I was praying
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
meditating, kind of
And it
asking
happened.
pray for me, yes.
Yeah.
Just kind of took on that journey, and I
Yeah.
saw a a high risk pregnancy doctor, and I
Mm-hmm.
also was I forgot the name of the facility, but it
Mm-hmm.
also catered to more high risk
So all
pregnancy.
of that. You saw an
Older, yeah,
OB?
geriatric pregnancy is what they called it, because I
Oh,
was
really?
40. I think I was 39 or 40 at the time, so
Okay. Okay.
40, I think, yeah.
Yeah. But they took good care of you.
So they did. They prescribed me with steroids, and I went back on the Plaquenil
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I
While
was taking
pregnant.
that while pregnant.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
so those were safe to take
I
while I was
see.
pregnant.
Yeah.
And they helped a lot because I think I was hospitalized one time in November,
Mm-hmm.
and that was because I think my iron had got really low. I wasn't eating a lot of like meat at the time in terms
Right.
of like beef.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Red
that was
meat.
something after I started eating a lot more just to kind of build it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Which in the past I haven't done much of. So I hindsight, I think that also affected some after pregnancy things that I
Oh,
had, which
really?
I'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about as well.
Yeah.
But in the fall, I think I was diagnosed with I think it's called mastitis or mastitis.
Mastitis. Yeah.
Mastitis.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually swell. They were very swollen. They got really large, and they were sore and just inflamed, basically. And
So
so,
for
of course, I
those
had
who,
skin.
right,
That.
for those who
Hmm.
don't know, that's the swelling of breast. When your breast swell, that's what
Hmm.
mastitis is called, right? That's what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so there was pain that came with that. I did see the doctor about that, and it seemed that there was nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it was a complication of the lupus.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also warned that could happen, as well as a low birth rate. So they were
Yeah.
monitoring me very heavily. I was going maybe every 2 weeks, to the doctor,
Yeah.
getting ultrasounds.
Yeah.
And one thing I know, it did affect. I took this test twice to
Mm-hmm.
see if there were any kind of birth defects or anything that was kind of was wrong with her, and it wouldn't read anything. It was inconclusive, because I guess maybe this was kind of covering up
Covering
or
everything up.
veiling.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was interesting. I was maybe a little bit nervous, but
Yeah.
whenever we went to get our ultrasound, everything was fine. We found out we were having a girl,
Nice.
and so we just kind of kept through with that. However, I did make a change. I switched doctors.
Oh.
At the beginning of December,
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple of things that I felt like, I wanted a different type of care.
Yeah.
And so then I joined with or sought out the midwifery at Vanderbilt that was
Nice.
started by Dr.
Yeah.
Thickman,
Yeah.
Richard. So that was a wonderful, a needed change.
Yeah.
It really helped a lot. I got a wonderful and expert care there, and they were monitoring me. But he noticed even some changes with my protein in my urine,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of
Usually
a
elevated. Yeah, it's
it was
usually
elevated. Yes,
elevated
it
for
was elevated.
pregnancy.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely was elevated, and it kept rising each time I would
Mm-hmm.
go to the doctor. And
Yeah.
so time we came to March, it was continuing to rise, and then
Mm-hmm.
the week before, because I was in my 36th week, I was admitted to the hospital for a night just because her heart rate,
Right.
was decreasing, or it wasn't very
Decreasing.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to stay overnight so that they could monitor me. Got out of that, came back home, and then I think it was midnight Friday night, my water broke.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and then we went to the doctor or the hospital, got checked in. I
Was
was
it
wanting
full
to,
term? Was it full term?
so she was 36 weeks.
Oh,
So we
okay.
were
Yeah, that's
almost
not bad.
37,
Yeah, that's not bad.
um, it wasn't bad. But she was still, fairly small.
Yeah,
They ended up doing a C-section. I was hoping to try to have her as,
normal.
go through the birth
Well,
now,
not
but
normal, but regular. Yeah.
yeah, but again, during contractions, her heart rate kept dropping, so they thought it was best
To get her out. Yeah.
take her out. Yeah.
Well,
So that was
congratulations.
I started crying just because
Cry of relief.
I
Yes.
no, I was crying because I was afraid.
Oh.
I just didn't know what would happen. And two, I we're very thankful for our doula. We had a doula, Jasmine Dominique, who's a beautiful friend of ours.
Yes.
And so I was hoping, she would be, so it wasn't turning around. It's turning out how I hoped it, to be.
To
How
be.
we hoped it to be, but it worked out.
And it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wasn't able to
Amen.
hold her. I wasn't able to hold her. They took her away, and she wasn't. I forgot what Alvin said. She wasn't crying, or she wasn't doing something. So they wanted to monitor her some more. And they took me away, like to this waiting room, until the anesthesia wore off. So I think I can't remember. I think I got to see her later on that night, because this was in the morning time. When they surgery. I had a good experience with that. Didn't have any complications.
Wonderful. And that's a wonderful story. It all turned out. How old is she?
So she is 21 months old. So she's almost 2.
Wow.
Now.
Wow. You getting ready for another one?
Yeah. Well, I would like to, I would like to, but my husband, he's like, I don't know. He went through quite a bit this time around. Maybe we should just let it go. My mom was like, no, no more. You're good. But me, when I was younger, I wanted to have 10 kids, but I was also 10 years old. Didn't know what that would entail. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. But when I was preparing for this podcast, I researched lupus and pregnancy, and they had it on there that it's advisable to prepare at least 3 months before conceiving, and certain meds needs time to wane off.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I am sorry about that. So yeah, they said 3 months should be a good time for you to plan your pregnancy and really work with your doctors, your baby, your healthcare team. So I'm glad it turned out well for you. And if ever you're to have another, know that you can start planning way in advance and all of that. But as you were talking, I was also wondering about if at any moment you had any healthcare provider or even family members and friends that that didn't believe you or didn't listen as should, or even helped with good intentions, but that didn't go well. Were there instances like that?
So I think in terms of maybe not believing, it was more or less maybe not understanding, and not being able to relate. I would try to relay what was going on. I'm thankful for the support too of my colleagues, at work, because I explained what was going on, and they supported me as possible. And so I don't think I really encountered that. The only thing, as I said, in terms of incorporating nutrition is what I didn't have, because prior to, or maybe during the time that I wasn't taking the prescribed medication, I was also seeing a functional medicine specialist. And so I was working through that, and she was actually very helpful, kind of guiding me through what foods to eat and not eat. So I definitely should mention that. And it was through Nashville Holistic Care. I think it was is where I sought that, and they were very helpful. And also monitoring what was happening and whether or not it was safe to go ahead. And so, yeah, that
Okay.
definitely that
Always.
helps too. So
Yes.
I was seeking some type of guidance
Yeah.
along those lines too.
Yes, you were definitely fortunate, and I was too. I had a good healthcare team that listened to me, but we know historically women weren't always believed, and so it's even harder for Black women to be heard in the
Right. And
U.S., and that's the situation we have today, and that's why there's a huge disparity, health disparity among Black and Brown populations in the U.S.
because I met so many women who live with it who aren't on medication, and some of it is because of that, right? Just
Yeah,
kind of
some of it is because of that not being heard, but a lot of times,
heard.
yeah, it's the social economic situations they're facing as well. So we've come to the end of our podcast. Thank you for sharing your personal story, and I want to remind the audience that this is educational and for support purpose only and not medical advice. So every pregnancy and lupus is different. So seek your advice from your healthcare team. And I want to thank you for joining us today, Lakesha. If this is of interest to you, if you think somebody will be interested in this, please share and support you.
That's our episode. Thank you for showing up. Your presence here matters. Share this with someone who needs it. Leave a review and find us on Substack or wherever you listen to podcasts. Your reviews help us reach more of the community. Until next time, stay rooted, seen, supported, stronger.